were approximately 5 miles offshore and a mile north of the border when they came across a Mexican lancha retrieving longline gear.
He had been fishing illegally in the United States, basically because their fisheries over there are pretty much depleted. So they come over here, and it's where all the sharks spawn, is right on the border and just a little bit past. So they'll come over here and catch shark.
So we spotted the lancha off of the bow, and we began approaching them. That constituted putting on the blue light and the siren. As we approached, we were bow to bow, and they remained DIW until we got right up close to them, at which point they took off at a high rate of speed towards basically the opposite direction of us. And what that did was that gave them a head start.
This was not a typical lancha interdiction. As the lancha fled, the operator of the lancha performed many corkscrew maneuvers and other maneuvers designed to try to evade the Coast Guard 33. At one point, including using his lancha to try to ram the Coast Guard vessel.
He knew what he was doing. He continued to use a maneuver called a corkscrew. And the lancha can turn a lot tighter than our 33-foot interceptor. And what the corkscrew is he just turns as tight as he can. And while he's doing a very tight circle, our boat being larger and 3 engines, it can't turn as tight. So they'll do that corkscrew, we have to go wide. And that gives him, once again, another large distance. He's got a head start on us. He continued to use these corkscrews, but he was using a tactic where he would spin the first very tight turn, and that would line him up with trying to strike our outboards with the bow of the lancha. At one point, my crew members were yelling that he was going to strike the engines. We had to shift our steering, and his bow went under the taffrail of our 33. It missed my starboard engine by 1.5 inches or 2. And had he have struck that, it would have disabled that engine, and the pursuit would have been over.
And like after like that happened, then we knew like really the only way he was going to stop was if we like disabled him.
BM2 Gutierrez was talking to them in Spanish and in English. I remember we got real close to them, and he was like yelling out the window and out the door at them because we were close, and they can hear, like we can hear them, and they were talking to him, and he was telling them to stop the boat, and he was giving it over the loud hailer, telling them to stop. They just wasn't stopping. BM3 Peacock set up for flashbang shots for warning, step 2. BM2 Dan gave him the right ahead to do that. We fired the first round. They just looked at us and continue on trying to escape.
Altogether, we made contact with the lancha 3 times under his control. He came into the side of the 33 and made contact with us 3 times. After that, we were able to get 2 rounds of LA-51 flashbang successfully fired. They didn't work. He continued south. At this point, I came up alongside the lancha's port side. He was on the 33's starboard side. We were at about 30 knots. And at this point, you gotta, no matter how he reacts, I had to stay in a straight line. And I came alongside of him, I made a light contact, and I sent a crew member out to the back deck.
Go ahead and make the boat hook ready to pull the fuel line. All right.
I'm out on the starboard side of the back of the 33, and he says, he pulls up alongside just, 3-4 feet off the side of the lancha. Petty Officer Haney was grabbing onto my life jacket. Thank God he was there.
Like the second one, he got it, and he really had to tug it out and really give it a pull.
But he had me, and I put 2 hands on the boat hook, yanked it, and luckily the priming bulb came off, so they couldn't reattach it. So at that point, the boat started coming down a little bit.
The lancha operator knew that his fuel line had been severed, and he still was not ready to surrender the boat at that time. While they were stopped, as it was reported, while they were stopped, the launch operator actually maneuvered the bow of his boat to point towards our boat, and with his outboard engine still running, because there was still gas in the line, made a motion that he was going to throttle the boat up and ram our boat one more time. At which point the coxswain made a quick decision and discharged pepper spray in the direction of the operator, at which point he said that enough was enough.
The unit works together great, and I'm really proud of how that crew worked as a team that day. There was so many moving pieces, so many different things going on at a time. Every single person on that boat had a role. They executed that role perfectly, and luckily, that launch was stopped safely.